The maternity and neonatal independent senior advocate role has been piloted in several areas of England. This initiative has followed a series of high-profile national independent inquiries and reviews. The role was established to help make sure that families' voices are heard, listened to and acted upon following adverse outcomes such as the death or serious injury of a baby or a mother during NHS care. You will now hear from some of the people who accessed advocacy support during the pilot.
We decided that we wanted to start a family. We got pregnant very quickly and had a standard risk, very enjoyable pregnancy. When we got to 36 weeks, I had my first day of maternity leave and I had laid down to go to bed and realised that my baby wasn't moving. So I monitored the situation, then called the maternity triage.
The care that we received from our local hospital was, on the whole, fantastic. Actually, the lowest point of care was when we first arrived on the Monday night. When we attended the maternity triage desk, the reception that we received was frosty and awkward. It left us in a position where we felt that we had to speak up and clarify and be in charge of the situation rather than somebody taking the lead and looking after us and directing us. When we went in for that initial contact point, we had no idea the news that we were about to receive. It felt like we had interrupted a quiet Monday night shift with our trivial worries. When it became clear to the midwife who was caring for us that we were about to receive some very difficult news, the level of care changed dramatically and she went from first to fifth gear. But by then we weren't really in a position to receive that care. Our guard had gone up because it wasn't a person that we felt safe and supported by from the very beginning.
After quite a few rounds of IVF, we became pregnant and everything seemed fine. And I went in for my routine 32-week scan, which was due to having gestational diabetes. I had an extra scan. And when I went in, they told me that the heart rate was slow of the baby. And within minutes, I was then in the delivery suite having a emergency C-section to get her out. And although she was born alive, she was severely brain damaged. We had to make a decision what to do. So taking guidance from the doctors there, I mean, she was brain dead. So there wasn't really a decision to make, but we decided to switch off her machines.
My CTG scan was abnormal from 1 a.m. but my operation was done on the 10:30 p.m. It's more harsh if the nurse or midwife or doctors have noticed the abnormality of the CTG. And they should have operated me earlier. My baby would have been fine now.
I went through a normal pregnancy, what seemed to be normal, right through to labour. My labour was long, and I was in pain for quite a long time. A week, actually, it was from the moment that I thought there was something wrong to delivering. It got to pushing and I found it very difficult. But again, it all seemed quite normal, as far as I was aware. And then he was delivered, my baby, and at the time, for about a split second, I looked at my husband and we had that moment of joy. We had our baby boy, and then we looked again and could see the panic in the midwife's eyes, and they took him off, and one of them just said, "Oh, he just needs a bit of oxygen." But time went on and time passed, and it was clear that he was struggling. And then he got taken to the hospital to try and resus him, and we found out a couple of hours later that they couldn't resus him, and that he'd passed.
We had twins, and we was expecting Sky to come out and just have a bit of a growth restriction, but obviously she could stay in hospital, and they said it would be best if she could be born and then obviously go into the NICU unit so they can look after her better than obviously how she could be looked after inside my womb. And then they were both born, and Sky obviously cried and everything seemed perfectly fine. And then they said that we just needed to kind of keep her in to get her weight up to date to be able to release from the hospital. And then it appeared to us that she didn't really seem too well, and she appeared obviously all one day when we went into the unit.
A week later, after visiting her, we was informed that she'd had various bacterias and infections going on, but supposedly nothing to be concerned about. But at the end of that week, we visited her, which ended up being the last time, to discover she just wasn't herself. Her colour was wrong, her mood was wrong. There was just nothing right about her. And we started to raise these concerns, which were met with not much severity of the reaction. It was just give her a cuddle, change her nappy, feed her, she should be fine. When it became more obvious to the staff that she wasn't fine and we was finally listened to, they tried to do what they could, try and work out what was wrong with her. And we ended up being sent to another hospital away from home where she was meant to be getting better care. And the next morning we were told they couldn't do nothing for her.
And then she ended up seriously ill. And then within a 24-hour window, she passed away at 3 weeks old, which obviously we didn't expect.
I've always been up and down over the last 10 years of feeling like I could get on with my life and these are just thoughts and feelings and I'm going to be okay, to having real lows where I think I can't get on with my life because these thoughts of what's happened, and I was carrying so much anger that I felt like I need to do something about it. And I think the fact that we were coming towards the 10 years was like a big deal, felt like quite a big deal. So when I found my advocate, I felt it was quite overwhelming. I didn't know really what I was asking for. So to have my advocate say, well, I can do this for you. I can find your records. I can request your records. I can make a timeline of everything you need. So that was really reassuring. So then she was able to help me request my records. I didn't want to look at them. I didn't want to read them. I think it would be very painful to read the details and some pictures, and I didn't want to see the pictures. So for her to be able to take them and look at them and extract the things that were helpful to me was brilliant. To be able to just take what I need and then put it in a format that would really, really make me feel like I completely understand and break it down was extremely helpful.
I really need justice for my baby. Not even a single day pass without her thought, ma. Every morning, every night, every single time. If I used to think, if my baby was with me, it would have been even more nice. Whenever all the festivals come, and it like whenever I see a baby dress, whenever I see the baby toys, it is very hard, ma'am. I really need justice. Mother institution has to be listened properly and check everything properly, check the CTG properly, check the mother.
The immediate aftermath of Sky passing was just met with, okay, you can get on your way now. Like, we'd just gone in for a routine appointment. We was given a box with mementos in it. We could do a handprint, footprint, that kind of stuff. None of them were complete, which made that useless, basically. We had no assistance in getting home. Our vehicle was still at our home hospital, so we didn't know how to get back. We ended up getting an Uber, which cost an absolute fortune, but it was the only way we could get home. It just wasn't great. there was too much left unanswered and too much uncertainty, and obviously was preoccupied with being in the hospital with her sister as well, that we couldn't chase this ourselves. And we would have expected at least somebody to come and speak to us, sit down with us and just tell us what could be next, and also the emotional support, just somebody to tell you, it's going to be okay. We never had that.
I feel like they should have helped us to get home and kind of listened, and even if it's a case of they paid out for a taxi and we reimbursed it at a later date, for example, then that would have been a good means straight away. And I feel like along the whole route there wasn't a lot of explanation about what was happening, and we didn't even obviously know like when we was going to be able to get Sky's like body back to our local hospital to then be able to see her at the morgue, or what was happening on the time frames of anything. So I feel like they could have been a bit more informative.
So from there, we had to deliver our baby, stillborn, and it was for that reason, following on from that, we had investigations and review of our care to go through, and that's why we were allocated an advocate.
And I was also aware that there were these processes going on, in that a hospital board of professionals were going to look into our care timeline, that our baby was going to be sent to the Great Ormond Street Hospital to be investigated by a pathologist, that we needed to plan a funeral. It really felt like an overwhelming and insurmountable amount of things going on. Having an advocate in that process, in the first instance, meant that we had somebody on our side. We met with our advocate. She came to visit us at home and listened to our story and got to know us. And that alone was enormous, because a massive part of our recovery journey has been talking openly and positively about our journey through the pregnancy and through the loss, and how we managed to take control of a really difficult narrative. Being able to talk through that with a professional who spoke to us with kindness, compassion, and patience during a time that we're extremely vulnerable was huge.
During that time, I was put in touch with the bereavement midwife, and I remember saying to her, I'm not really sure why this has happened, and is there anyone that can help me try and navigate working out what's happened, why this has happened. And she said, oh yeah, there's this pilot, and because of certain criteria you can speak to the advocate. So that's when then I got in touch, and it was really helpful, because at that point, obviously I was in shock about the situation, and didn't really know what I should be doing. Had someone done something wrong, or what had happened?
Initially, we were standing in the mid of the road alone. We don't know what to do. But luckily, through some pamphlet or something, we came to know about the advocate. From beginning till now, only because of her we are here, Mom. She's like a family to us. If she is not there, we would have been in the same place where we are and crying in the middle of the road. Lots of emails, going and talking with them personally. Only because of her, we could collect all the report, and we could able to understand. She also makes sure we understand all the report, and she will take us to the person and explain all the things. And she's only taking next step, even with the inquest and everything. She is only taking care of us. Without her, we are nothing.
Having an advocate at a time like that, when you feel like you're lost at sea, it's like having a life raft towing you to where you need to go. And you can just sit back and stop rowing for a while. You're at a time when you're super vulnerable, and you're using all your energy to just get through the day. So having someone come to your home and hearing you talk about your baby and your experience with the NHS and having them let you know that they're going to represent you throughout the process, it lets you breathe a sigh of relief that someone is going to push things forward for you at a time when you just can't.
There are also parts of the baby loss journey that parents are not privy to. There are meetings that will happen that, for obvious reasons, it would not be great to have the parents of the baby in the meeting for the level of detail that's going to be discussed, or whatever it may be. Having an advocate to go and participate in those meetings on your behalf means that whilst you're not present in the room, you can trust that your voice is going to be heard by somebody who has taken the time to understand you and what's important to you.
They were able to take me through step by step exactly what happened, a timeline of everything that I didn't know. I'd been stewing for 10 years about what happens. I'm the kind of person that need to know every detail about what happened, when, why, no matter how painful or upsetting. I just need to know so that I can puzzle it all together. Every piece needs to have a place. And until that puzzle is fixed together as much as possible, you can't not that you're letting it go, because you can't let something like that go. But it plays on your mind until it's sort of fixed a little bit. The puzzle is put together. So to be able to have someone to say, well, this happened then, and also I wanted to put, I wanted to know who people were. People were coming in and out of the room. I had no idea who they were. What happened when and why. Lots of the whys. Why did someone do this or say this? No one explained. There was such a lack of communication. I didn't know. So my advocate was able to say what happened literally minute by minute of my experience, which helped because they were able to explain things about why people had done certain things that I had never known before. So that gave me some peace, some actual peace.
I think the staff's reaction to us being readmitted after losing Sky, it just demonstrated how they were not used to dealing with people in our situation. They were not used to having people in front of them at their lowest point. I guess they're actually more used to the opposite. Families that are celebrating, they've got their child in the world and they're happy and just caring for this baby, where our baby was lost, which is perhaps something they're not exposed to the aftermath of, where in our case we was back in front of them whilst they looked after her Sky's sister. So from that perspective, I think it would be helpful if staff were educated on how to deal with families going through a loss like us.
They should have not left us in the road, actually. They should have sent some representative to the inquest. They should have still in touch with us and to make the report very earlier. The report has been very, very delay, Mom. All the investigation has to be very earlier, as soon as possible, because some family is crying. They need to do their work.
So in the PMRT report, it was concluded that there was some issues of care and that these would be looked into, and I still haven't heard a conclusion from that. And so that's still ongoing, so that's taken a long time. It's been nearly 18 months, and that's still going. So I think for families wanting to know what happened and to kind of move forwards, it's quite hard when you haven't had any conclusions from that sort of thing when you're expecting them.
I think it would have been helpful if they would have just talked to us like we were just people that have had a really bad experience. Like we were human, not like we're on the defence. That's how it felt. You know, we're not there to attack. We just really want to find out what happened to our baby, get some answers so that we can try somehow and move on with our life. But So just some care and compassion, a heartfelt sorry, maybe. Some people that might actually listen. That consultant that just didn't want to listen. It's just something that's made me so angry for a very long time.
Having an advocate is having a third-party, neutral perspective. Somebody who doesn't have a stake in defending the hospital ensures that there's some oversight, some accountability. An advocate brings skills and experience to a situation that you don't have as a layperson.
You've heard how vital it is for families to be listened to and treated with compassion when something goes wrong in their care, or they experience loss, injury, or trauma instead of the outcome they were expecting. It really matters how maternity and neonatal care providers communicate, keep in touch, and include families in the long period while care is reviewed or investigations take place. Please reflect on how your local organisation can improve and change to make this better, and share this film with anyone who works in or leads maternity and neonatal services. Anyone who's been affected by baby loss can contact SANS for information and support. Those affected by birth trauma can access information and support at the Birth Trauma Association.